What's up, sassy mortals? Remember how last week we were talking about the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, yielding both medical emergencies and breakthroughs on a mass level? Well, guess what? While they were busy getting exact up in the sky, humans were busy down here announcing a COVID-19 vaccine with allegedly a 90% success rate. Progress on this is still going to move slowly as the planets, but it would seem as though the trains are running right on time. Just on time for the numbers to rocket, too. Hopefully humans aren't getting legally mandated to take a vaccine full of monkey RNA and nanobots that enslave the human spirit into mounting into mindless, half-animal, half-machine consumer commodities. Fun fact. The last time Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto conjuncted in Capricorn was during the pre-Babylonian era, actually about 100 years before it became a thriving cornerstone of civilization that was able to conceive of and literally set in stone man-made laws, a tradition that continues to shape human instinct today. What was that J.P. Morgan quote? Millionaires don't use astrology, but billionaires do. Also, fun fact, Jupiter broke free of Pluto's death grip on Friday the 13th. Ooh. The Saturn-Jupiter conjunction at 0 degrees Aquarius on the winter solstice, by the way, is no small deal. That which is bound to be set in stone sets the foundation for a new vision of our species. The lessons of discipline have been sent into the collective psyche, I hope, and have begun to instantiate a new order one way or another. We are beginning to see glimpses of a hard-earned vision of what is possible Homo sapiens sapiens as this conjunction lands on its aim, on a literal shifting of the axis point upon which our planet, our lives, revolve. Welcome to a new season, humanity. Happy winter solstice 2020. Jupiter has passed through Pluto's gates on its way toward the event of a generation, this grand conjunction with Saturn, currently quintiling with Chiron. This aspect suggests to me access to great wisdom that endures beyond life and death, the kind that can meet the shadow with a smile. That bratty Sagittarian moon poses challenging aspects of either discontent or resistance with every planet it meets on the 16th, with the exception of, thank goodness, a trine with Mars, which is now direct in Aries. Feeling restless and adventurous when it feels like the world has become so serious and restricted, which goes unaspected on the 17th. Raw power, baby! It feels like extravagant, wanderlusty feelies and unadulterated, burning clarity of will are the only ones to appreciate each other for a moment until their hard-earned misfit idiosyncrasies inevitably find a way to butt up against one another. So the moon, our emotional constructs, takes flight, only to be challenged in a Mars square in Capricorn on the 18th. You should totally get your act together, Mars. I mean, you've got all the fight, but where's the actual ambition? And resolved and adapted in a quintile with the moon in Aquarius on the 19th. To a higher level of vision and objectivity about what is possible when you pour your emotions into your will and your will into your emotions. Oh my god, they fit like a glove. On the 17th, emotional constructs exit the picture of will. Will is alone and of itself, autonomous, unbounded. This is a dual-edged sword. On one hand, the energies are ripe to get into a mindset of single-minded focus in the face of what has held you back in the house that Mars is retrograding in your chart. To see your object of focus without distraction and merge with it and impregnate it with bare desire to see it brought to life. Or it could be a time when your inner tyrant bares its teeth through cobwebs of latency, repression, and feelings of resentment and impotence. These are two extremes, obviously, and the truth is often somewhere between on the multi-dimensional spectrum of archetypal axiom, and the results you experience largely depend on what you are utilizing as your anchor and compass in life and how you engage with it. The emotional body leaves the willful body to soak up other planetary influences as this trine comes to pass, leaving will all alone. This may create some conflict at first, but use it as an opportunity to adapt to what you've learned through emotional lessons and about the human condition and your own condition as a kind of balm for the soul. Because a warrior can stick to his guns, but without ammo or an aim, there's nothing to shoot at or with other than blank upon blank upon blank. This will help create forward momentum with the challenging but humbling aspects that the fighting spirit will be coming up against over the next little while. On the 17th, Mercury is opposing Lilith and Uranus. So much fun. Remember how last week it was a good idea to emotionally embody chaos? When aren't emotions chaos? To let it shake up your foundation and see if anything has been mutating beneath the surface. However deep you find yourself digging or being dug into, however the case may be, this is time to start getting objective about the chaos of the world and your emotional life. What function does it serve, and how are you contributing to it? How have your beliefs and values been shaken up? And what opportunities are available from the shakedown? Come on, focus. How have you been able to transmute the energy of sudden change or collapse into the service of vision? Whatever the seeming calamity, there is an opportunity to spin it in such a way that the energy you're surfing on can be self-perpetuating and sustainable. Look inside of yourself. Where do you see it? On the 16th, Venus squares Jupiter and Pluto, and on the 17th, Neptune biquintiles Venus. After getting the smackdown thrust upon it by a square to Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter on the 15th and 16th, the urge to purge shifts into an urge to merge because, after all, nature abhors a vacuum. As Venus settles into a brief biquintile with the retrograding Neptune. Wherever Venus falls in your chart, feed it by opening a psychic love portal with the collective unconscious, however you see it, to provide sustenance, inspiration, and nurturance. Just remember that with the astral connective collective, you're going to pick up what you're putting out. Especially if it's the stuff that you've been denying in favor of feel-good fantasies. Beware of pushing your own agenda onto yourself, and remember to let go. You're here because you love it. This could be tricky, I know, as Neptune is tuned into forgetting. Perhaps this aspect carries a certain tone of forgiving and forgetting. What can you pour your heart into that is bigger than yourself, that will help you drop that grudge, while at once helping you to identify what you've been identifying with? This will help you to start to feel out the consistency and the content of the waters you've been swimming in. Blood, mud, tears, beers, may those buoyant in the pure light skip the first stones. It's going to make the next day a lot more insightful as Lilith in Taurus semi-squares Neptune on the 18th. Is there a part of your life that's stubbornly subject to codependence? Enabling? Where are those unsatiated desires that once pulling you by the marionette strings while keeping you ground bound? Or even more simply, what perhaps, as of yet underformed or overformed boundaries, are being pushed to trigger and grate your subconscious? An illusion that sets off your detector that keeps popping up in front of your face? Or is someone trying to make something true by incessantly insisting it's so? Maybe there are forms of behavior that send you into deep frustration because they sabotage your utopic ideal and test your soul by showing you how far you've really come toward integrating and understanding the genuine potential for it in this reality. Or are you indeed being reminded that you've been aspiring toward an illusion and you're setting off your own detector, whether it's the vision itself or the ways that you've been going about it? Are you fighting the world Hall of Mirrors style? Or is this just a day for passive-aggressive conflict and irrational bickering between you, wherever this Lilith falls on your chart, and the haziness shrouding the world around you, where Neptune falls on your chart? On the 19th, oh my god, everything is in quintile. There's way too much to talk about. Let me try to encapsulate it by stating, expect geniuses to be born today who can look into the suffering of the human condition with the analytical power and absolute focus necessary to transform it for better or worse. I don't know, man. How about some organic food in tiny portions in non-recyclable packaging, right? It's a massive scourge upon the earth. Maybe these guys can start adapting pyrolysis on the world scale, just in time to replace the oil supply. Fire it up, baby. Global warming's coming. Theme of the day. Outwit suffering by recognizing what purpose it serves. It's reality check time, and the interest is probably compounded. What karmic debts are on the ledger? Payment can be made in the form of paradigm shifts, the creation of wormholes in your mind between default modes, witnessing loopholes through tripped up ego shoelaces, bearing your carbon-based footprints of outmoded identity constructs and gleaning into the primitive levels of will with analysis as elegant as the dance of the forces of the universe to step forward and cut cords, and the chance to remember what it is like to breathe for the first time. For example, if Pluto and Saturn are transiting in Capricorn in your 11th house, prepare for the likelihood of old friendships falling to the wayside, knowing that you will adopt to new social groups. You may find new layers of meaning and intimacy in old connections, or it may be far more appealing to broaden your social horizons with shark-like intensity. Either way, a reformation of social conduct and intent are in the works. If Chiron in Aries is transiting your first house, it might be hot to trot to either put its victim's complex aside and use the lessons of unique suffering to breed self-confidence, or possibly prey on easy social bait with sob stories. But I don't think that's my demographic. Just watch the seas. If Mercury in Scorpio is transitioning your 8th house, you have the analytical capacity to determine if a connection with an idea or person is right for you before letting it swallow your soul completely. It's like you're watching your own rebirth in slow motion on repeat while slowly changing species. And if the North Node in Gemini is pointing to your 4th house, expect what is being adapted now to be carried down through your lineage. Transmuting family karma is always the best revenge against mom and dad. This quintile cluster pointing toward the North Node reveals a huge hint for what we, as part of the world's soul, are trying to aim toward in our highest ideal at this point of our collective development, and communicate it. On the 20th, Saturn in Capricorn squares Lilith in Aries. You can't always get what you want. Pick your battles. Are you going to advance in the bigger picture of your life by taking a stand on whatever conflict may be right in front of you right now? Or will taking action at this moment produce the kind of resistance that will only wear you out before the finish line? Find out whether it's worth it to risk the war for this particular battle. If so, might I suggest that you give it your uncensored all. The Sun also reaches the final degree of Scorpio in a semi-sextile to Venus in the final degrees of Libra. Personal identity might feel out of sync with social identity. For example, this Sun is in your 9th house of faith and natural law and wisdom. You might feel rubbed the wrong way by what your intimate relationships want from you, or feel a disconnect between your higher principles and your sexuality. Or maybe there's a disconnect between your desire to be alone with the meditations bubbling at the threshold of your consciousness and the allure of socializing. This is fine. What you find in the grind between these seemingly mutually exclusive choices will serve as fuel for what's to come. Jupiter also breaks free from an exact conjunction with Pluto today, but again is heading straight towards Saturn's belly. Freedom in the face of death, of passing karmic binds. Does karma have a shelf life? Is worthy of celebration. Enjoy the enhanced mobility and fresh optimism that come with its passing. The feeling of fresh breath expanding in your lungs and all the wisdom that it has to teach you. Isn't breath the original guru? Just know that with this freedom comes the responsibility to either initiate or act as a steward to a new order that is attempting to come through, as one always will, one way or another, at least in this realm. And each of us is always part of its creation, however small or great, coherent or disruptive our actions and spirit. What you do and what you think matter. On the 21st and the 22nd, Mercury quintiles the North Node and quintiles Saturn, respectively. Check it out. This is like throwing a psychic flashbulb, showing you the future you're participating in creating, as well as the future that is possible. Soak it up one day, and the next, sit with it and take stock of what responsibilities you need to take in order to clean up your act and make this vision possible. Or if you're already on your way, what you can do to galvanize your efficiency and single-mindedness to bring the focus of this vision to life should be top of mind. On the 22nd, Jupiter squares Lilith, the Sun biquintiles Lilith, and the party is over. You want to press headlong into expansion and do all the things, but it's time to sit down and chill out and contemplate that there are ways that your restless desires might be sabotaging your grand plans. Maybe you can refine it down to a few core actionable desires that actually make your soul light up and your spine tingle. On the 23rd, the moon trines Mercury, sextiles Mars, and conjuncts with Neptune. All that work that you've been doing in the days prior to this is going to make it a lot easier to merge your personal vision with the collective unconscious. A clean palette means a clearer signal after all. Take some time to dream a little bit before you get up and fight again. Take some time to dream a little before getting up to convince the world of your value. Dreams are part of our intrinsic value because the wise ask the wise.